Chelsea cannot afford to drop points against Leicester. We must win game. We have to beat Leicester on Sunday. That's all it comes down to. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to From the Shed End. If you're new here, please subscribe. As I said earlier on this week, we were close to 600 subscribers. We have now surpassed 600 subscribers. So please, if you're new, you haven't subscribed, again, we appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe. Give us your thoughts in the comments as well. We appreciate everyone that's doing so. Let's talk about Chelsea, Leicester City. Now, before we do all of that, up here, you will see the latest video, my match reaction to Copenhagen 2-1 Conference League earlier on in the week, where we were able to beat Copenhagen. Finally, it was a boring first half, but we beat them eventually. So make sure you check out that video. Leave your thoughts on there as well. But Leicester City on Sunday, 2 p.m. tomorrow. We are looking forward to this game. This is a Leicester City team that is 19th in the Premier League. They've conceded 12 goals in their last 4 games. Ruud van Nistelrooy is having a shocker of a manager bounce. This is probably the worst manager bounce. It hasn't even bounced. He hasn't even bounced yet. Ruud van Nistelrooy is still sat there waiting for the manager bounce. But Enzo Maresca has to capitalise. This is a team that Enzo Maresca knows very, very well. Obviously, previously managing Leicester. We have to make sure that we make things count. We beat them 2-1 in the return fixture. So I think we have to make sure that we don't let what we've done earlier on in the week in the Conference League slip away and it's all for nothing. You know, we was able to rest Pedro Neto, Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo played 45 minutes each. And Nkunku got 45 minutes. Cucurella was a forced substitution due to an injury to Malo Gusto. But this is an opportunity for this team to be able to show that we still have conviction, intention to make the top 4 this season. And we have some really difficult games coming up beyond Leicester on Sunday. I don't need to remind you guys, Arsenal and Tottenham are our next 2 games in the Premier League after this game in between the Conference League next Thursday. But we have to make sure we capitalise on this. Now, there is a key talking point I can't stress enough, and it's about one particular player in question. That is Moises Caicedo. Moises Caicedo, please, whatever you do, don't get booked against Leicester. If he gets booked, he misses the next 2 games. That'll be 10 yellow cards accumulated. He'll miss 2 matches. The next 2 matches after Leicester in the Premier League is Arsenal and Tottenham. We cannot afford to not have Moises Caicedo in either of those games. He has to be involved. Now, as I said, Leicester coming into this one, really bad form. We know obviously they've lost their last 4, conceded 12, 19th in the league, only 5 points from safety. They're currently on free fall to go back into the Championship. Now, I say all that to say this is Chelsea Football Club and we like to spring surprises. We are the gift FC, interested FC, but sometimes we're gift FC. We like to gift goals. We can't afford to do that. We can't afford to do that against Leicester. We have to make sure we capitalise and we do what we need to do. Now, we know that obviously there's some key injury returns from Badiashile, who started on Thursday against Copenhagen. We know that Wesley Fofana was on the bench against Southampton as well a couple of weeks ago. So he might feature in this game. I doubt it. I wouldn't want to see that. But we have to make sure that we capitalise. And we capitalise really well. Because if we don't, there'll be a lot of questions asked about Maresca, resting key players like Pedro Neto on Thursday, and still not getting a win against Leicester City, who are really in bad form. Really, really bad form. Maresca has to get this one right. He really does. I'm hoping. Now, let's digress a little bit. Let's go to the comments that were made after the game in Denmark in the week in the Conference League. Now, Enzo Maresca was asked about Reece James's role in the team and where he sees fit to see Reece James playing in this team. Now, naturally, we've seen Reece James play as a right back. We've seen him play as a right wing back. We've seen him invert into that midfield. But on Thursday night, he seemed to cherish the role of being in a midfield too with Caicedo. It allowed Keenan Dewsbury-Hall to play further up the pitch as well. We talk a bit more about this in depth in our video that's coming out tomorrow in the podcast with myself and Theo. So make sure you check out that tomorrow as well, ahead of kickoff. But we kind of we're on the same page, and I still think that Enzo Maresca is probably right in trying to find the perfect role for Reece James, because let's try to think what Reece James will give us in the midfield. We know how good he is defensively. We know how good he is going forward with the ball. But I think we need to see Enzo Maresca getting the best out of Reece James. And one of the things I'm hoping we get to see is more creativity in that midfield role. He might get a bit more time on the ball. It's a clearly different new role. If he is more in the midfield, we'll see a lot more the ability from his passing range. We know what his passing range can be like. It's up there with Trent Alexander-Arnold. We know how good he is at passing the ball. I just want to see a little bit more of him being able to dictate the tempo in that midfield, being able to orchestrate things with Caicedo or Enzo, whoever's alongside him. And what it will do as a bonus with Reece James playing in midfield, it will allow someone like Enzo a bit more freedom going forward, potentially linking up with the attacking, might even be part of the front three. You know, we've seen him do that a couple of times. I think he played that role maybe against Man City, the opening game of the season. He played as a more of an attacking midfielder, almost as the 10 against Man City in that opening game of the season. So we might see Enzo move forward slightly more. It also gives us a bit more defensive solidarity in that midfield. If Reece James is in there, now we don't know who's going to play right back. It could be a mixture of Achiampong. It could be Malo Gusto. We've seen Wesley Fofana when he's fit play as right back, Trevor Chalobah. So there are options there for us. Now, they're not all like for like right backs. We know Achiampong is new into the senior squad. Malo Gusto hasn't shown the form that we've seen of him of last season. But we could utilize Reece James in midfield, dictate possession a little bit more, overload the midfield a little bit more. Now, this can happen if he is a right back and he inverts into the midfield. This can happen. We've seen it under Maresca. He's played him as a right back and he inverts him into the midfield. We can overload the midfield and dictate and dominate possession in that midfield, with Reece James playing more as a central midfielder than he does as a right back. Out of possession, you would assume he would revert back to a right back, but it gives us more options in that midfield. And as I said, it's going to allow someone like Enzo Fernandez to go forward a little bit more and advance higher up the pitch with the ball. Obviously, the tactical flexibility. So you're going to give attacking freedoms to the likes of Cole Palmer, to Noni Madueke, to Jadon Sancho, to Pedro Neto, to Christopher Nkunku. That link up and connection with the midfield, I think, will be a little bit better if you had someone who's got the passing range, the passing ability of Reece James in the midfield. So I think Maresca's not wrong. He's definitely not wrong in trying to get the best out of Reece James. And we have to remember, this is a player that we know, we spoke about it on the podcast. This is one of the most experienced players at Chelsea Football Club. The most experienced player at Chelsea Football Club. We have to get the best out of him. We have to get the best out of him. We have to try and make sure that whatever formation tactic or whatever we do involves Reece James, because he's the captain. He shows leadership on the pitch and we need him. Passing range, defensive abilities, going forward the ball. We need all of that from Reece James. So hopefully we get to see a little bit more of that. He's in my predicted lineup, which I'm going to share with you shortly. But going back to the match on Sunday, Leicester, Jamie Vardy, we know that Bernardo is suspended for this game. I think Ricardo Ferreira's out as well. So we have to strike while the iron is hot. We have to strike while the iron is hot. This is almost like a free throw of the dice, really, essentially for me. This is one of those games that there can be no excuses. There can be no excuses. This is Leicester City in their worst moments in the Premier League this season, their worst season so far that I can remember as a Leicester City team, struggling so bad, looking like they're going to get relegated. There can be no excuses. And like I said, Maresca knows his team. He might not know the players, but he's associated with them with his previous time at the club. But for me, in terms of my predicted lineup, which we're going to share now with you guys, now I've gone with, I'm still on this whole sort of wishing we could see the three at the back, but I don't think we're going to see that. So I've gone with Jurgensen in goal. I think Jurgensen will be the goalkeeper that we will essentially see in our lineup on Sunday. I have gone with Trevor Chalobah as right back. Now, I think with Trevor Chalobah, he does offer you some really good defensive stability as a right back and a centre back. And I think we need to have someone down that right side that is going to be able to cope with any of the attacking threats that Leicester do pose. We know that Jamie Vardy likes to score against big teams as well, so we have to make sure we've got someone in there that has got a defensive mind on top of them. I wouldn't want to see Wesley Fofana. I think this might be a big game too soon maybe to throw Josh Ashiempong, who's been in and out of the team this season, hasn't really played much minutes recently, so I wouldn't put him in the team. But if Malagusto is fit and his pass is fit and he can see out the game, then maybe you play him there. But Trevor Chalobah's in my team for now. I've gone with a 2 of Tosin and Colwell. I'll be honest, I wasn't really impressed with Colwell against Copenhagen, but needs must. We need to have someone in the team that can do what we need them to do. We need to try and find a balance in that defense. And I think with me, Colwell and Tosin for his height, his strength, his agility, I think we have to have him in there. It's going to be quite a competitive game in terms of set pieces. We conceded from a set piece on Thursday against Copenhagen. So I think we need to have Tosin in there as opposed to Badiashile, who's also coming back from a long-term injury. I've gone for Cucurella on the left side. Again, someone who was forced on as a substitution on Thursday night due to an injury to Malo Gusto. I've gone for Reece James and Moises Caicedo in the middle of the pitch. Now, that goes back to what we've just been speaking about. Enzo Maresca also referred to, he wants to see Reece James naturally in midfield. So it is the case that he wants to see him naturally in midfield. We have to see someone in the right back position for James to be able to move forward into that midfield role. I've gone for Moises Caicedo as the double pivot with James in there as well. Let's see how that works out. This is probably the best game to try this out with. You know, Leicester City, we're not expecting them to give us too much trouble in that midfield. And as I said, you can give you that option of overloading the midfield. You could drop Enzo back into that midfield as well to help out with overload the midfield, dictate possession of the ball. But I have gone with Jadon Sancho, Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer on the right of my attacking midfielders. Now, Enzo, I think, will play more central, more as the 10, going forward, advancing. We got to see what he can do against Copenhagen. Lovely ball in by Tariq George on Thursday, setting up the goal for Enzo Fernandez. But Cole Palmer, I've been saying it for so long, and I feel like this might be the time we get to see this, but Cole Palmer has to play on the right side of the game. We're seeing it too often now. He struggles in that 10 role. He's been outmarked in the game. He's not able to do too much with the ball once it's at his feet. I think if you put him on the right side, he's got room to run into. You can take a 1v1 on with the left back as well. And I think shifting him to the right might just give him a different new lease of life. Because something has happened to Cole Palmer over the space of time that he's been playing in the 10, and he just hasn't looked himself. He's out of form. He's snatching at chances, so we need to give him something else to think about, and maybe linking up with Enzo, Reece James, Trevor Chalobah on that right side as well will help him do that. And I've gone with Pedro Neto, who seems to be the most natural number 9 that we will have in the team currently as it stands. So I've gone for Pedro Neto as my number 9. He played really well against Southampton in a week ago or so, or just over 2 weeks ago now, but Neto has to start for me. Now, of course, that doesn't mean any space for Nkunku, but a good option off the bench for me. Again, we have some defensive roles back in the team now. Lavia is back in training according to Enzo Maresca. So we might see Lavia get some minutes in this game if the game is going in our way. But that's my lineup. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you would change. Let me know your thoughts. What do I think in terms of a prediction? I think we will dominate this game. And I think we have to dominate the game. And I think if we don't, there'll be a lot of questions about the team, about the manager. There'll be a lot of frustration. But we have to dominate the game. We've got some really, as I keep saying, some really tough fixtures coming up. We've got Copenhagen again on Thursday with that small, slim lead to take into that game on Thursday. But we have to focus on this game on Sunday, 2 p.m. I'm going to go for 3-1 Chelsea. I think we should batter them. I think we'll batter them. I really do. So 3-1 Chelsea for me is what I'm going with. Let me know what you are going for in terms of your score predictions. Let me know all your comments below. As I said before, we appreciate the subscribers subscribing. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button. Please make sure you do that. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with a match preview. Also, don't forget tomorrow, come back here, hit the notification bell. The podcast episode 154 will be available on YouTube and Spotify. Don't miss it. We talk all good things Copenhagen and give ourselves a bit more of an in-depth about Sunday's game. Check it all out. We'll be back soon. Thank you very much for watching.